The dream really is to have a business that doesn't consume you, but is successful nonetheless. Well, I recently learned 6 strategies that helps to make sure that your business is aligned with your goals, doesn't overwhelm you, and ensures your success. Hi, welcome back to Feel Good Lab, the podcast where we explore the intersection between personal growth and career success and all the good stuff that happens in between. I am your host, Angel. What's up, Feel Good fam? How are you this week? I am feeling surprisingly positive and happy and good. If you're not caught up with the previous episodes, I have been going through kind of a major life event lately, and it's been a bit of a journey kind of coming back into my regular life and doing regular life things again. But today's Monday when I'm filming this, and for the first time in probably over a month now, I'm actually feeling creatively inspired. I'm feeling motivated. My energy levels are good, and I'm just feeling positive overall. So it's been a really good morning so far, and I'm really, really pumped to bring you this episode because I have so many good tips to share. So the tips and strategies of this episode does come from the book, The E-Myth Revisited, Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It by Michael E. Gerber. This has been on my TBR and has been sitting on my shelf for well over a year now. And for some reason, I just never reached for it. I'm definitely a mood reader, although I do try to make sure that I'm reading one nonfiction book and one fiction book at all times. But for some reason, this I just never reached for. But I am starting to realize as I read more and more books that I have a pretty good intuition, I want to call it, or maybe the universe just gives me a sign. But every time I reach for like a self-help book, a business book, it just so happens that that book will be exactly what I'm looking for at that moment. Now that I'm kind of in the stage where I'm trying to balance work and the growth of my business, this is pretty much the perfect book to read for that. The title doesn't really say that, but truly, as I'll explain, this is the book that will get both your life and business aligned and on track. I just want to preface and say that whether or not you currently have some sort of a small business or you're an entrepreneur or not, this is still going to be a really, really great read as long as you have an interest in doing something on your own, on betting on yourself, on starting a business at some point. And that business could really be anything. Entrepreneurship is so broad. It could be starting a podcast. It could be starting as a content creator. It could be starting an Etsy shop. Like whatever it is that you have in mind or you've thought about turning into a business, this is going to help. I'm just going to jump right into this week's feel good moment because I have a lot of information that I need to share with you, a ton of insights from the book, and we'll go over the 6 strategies on what really makes a successful small business owner and entrepreneur. So my feel good moment of the week has to be just like the slow incline of my mood and just like kind of rolling back into life. And then the exact moment where I kind of realized like, wait, I'm really in a positive mood is when we had our first big snowfall. I know it's kind of late to be talking about snowfall because I'm sure there are so many cities, especially on the East Coast, that have had like major snowfalls already. But a couple of days ago, it was our real first big snowfall that we've had, but it is like a whiteout outside. It is so snowy. There's like probably 2 feet of snow outside on the ground. Like it's a lot. If you follow any of my other content, you will already know and have heard me say that I am not a winter girly. I am a May baby. I am a summer girl. I crave hot, humid weather. And so every winter I just sink into a funk. But I knew that I was in a good mood because I woke up, looked outside, it was a whiteout, and I was like, I'm excited for today. Like that's quite unlike me. Usually I'm like, like this and that. But in my mind, all I was thinking was, it's going to be such a cozy day at home. I can't wait to like have my coffee, drink some tea. Maybe today I'll just like do some extra reading, do some extra journaling. Like I was in a cozy, positive mood. And I do know that emotions and grief and all of those things ebb and flow. Life ebbs and flows, but I think this is the first time in a while where I felt like actual mental clarity, like that emotional brain fog has lifted, like the tightness in my chest has lifted. So I don't know, I'm feeling good and I want to savor and treasure this moment because I'm starting to realize that I take these moments for granted. So I just want to be more appreciative and more grateful for the healthy moments, for the happy moments, for the clear moments that I have, because I know there will come a time where the brain fog will descend and I will feel some type of way. But for now, I'm feeling really happy. I'm feeling really good. And yeah, that mental clarity really is my feel good moment of the week. And I hope it's going to last for at least a couple of weeks. So let's dive right into this book. Like I said, I was really shocked when I read this book because I kind of expected it to be like, okay, this is how you build a system, which it is, or like, okay, this is how you run a business, which it also is. But the thing that really surprised me about this book was how much it pushes you to make sure that you are thinking about your life goals and your personal path first before you even dive into building the plan and the strategies for your business. I've read books like The Infinite Game where it really talks about your mission and your vision. And yes, those things will be based on your values and your ambitions as a human being. And I think that's another really great book that addresses not just like actionable business strategies, but also mindset changing strategies. But this was the first book where it really just pushed you to start from what are your life goals? What are the things that you want to achieve? Because that is how you're going to decide how you're going to build your business. Let's start from strategy number one or tip number one, which is that your business should serve your life. There's a great quote in here that says, "The purpose of your life is not to serve your business. The primary purpose of your business is actually to serve your life." Let that sink in for a second. I can't even begin to explain how much this quote resonated with me because it's something that I have been in conflict with or struggling with subconsciously for quite some time. My partner actually had a business of his own as well, and he has been trying to share a lot of the insights that he has learned from building his business with me while I'm on this journey of growing my business. But I often find that when people are trying to distill their life lessons, it can be hard for me to see the alignment or like actually apply it to my specific circumstances when my brain isn't quite yet at the stage where it can process that information. But when I read the quote in this book, something instantly clicked and I was like, okay, this is what he was talking about. And I think it was hard for me to process because it feels so backwards to what we were trained to believe or think, which is that your life has these specific stages, right? You go to school, you graduate, you start work, you maybe buy a house or get married, you have kids, and then you live, you retire, and you get to live whatever life that you want. And yes, I did grow up in that stage. I might be aging myself a little bit because I feel like Gen Zs aren't taught this anymore, but that was the times that I grew up in, like where my parents were still heavily instilling these beliefs into me. And also having immigrant parents, having then a single mother who was taking care of me, it was like work, work, work. Work is what's important. You work hard, you make money, and then later you might get to enjoy your life. So this quote really started to feel like the antithesis of that. But the question that my partner had brought up to me, and the question that I think about all the time now is, what's the point of having a business if you don't know what goals your business can help you achieve? AKA, what are you working towards? Why are you working so hard? Like, what is the reason that you need the money that you're making? What are the goals that you're trying to achieve with that? So in the book, Gerber prompts us to start with our primary aim. And that's really the first step to building any type of business. It's not to start with like the mission and vision, although those are important for the business, but it's to start with your own personal primary aim. So there was a bunch of questions that he included in the book that I think are great journaling prompts for you to think on, to write on, and to really brainstorm on. It's like taking a few steps back and digging deeper if you're already running a business, or it's kind of really setting up the foundations of how to build like a really great business strategy. So the questions are, what do I wish my life to look like? How do I want my life to look like on the day-to-day? Like, what is my AM to PM schedule from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep? What do I want that schedule to look like? Like, write out the exact schedule of what your dream day will look like. Then think about, what would I like to be able to say I truly knew in my life about my life? The exercise that he mentions in the book is to think about it as if you are at your funeral and you can actually speak at your funeral. I don't know how that's possible, but just imagine, okay? Stick with me here. So you are standing at the front of your funeral, all your guests are in attendance, they're grieving for you. What are the things that you want to be able to tell them to summarize your life that you would feel really, really proud of? Another question is, how would I like to be with all the other people in my life? And that includes your family, your friends, your business associates, your acquaintances, friends of friends, cousins, like whatever. But like, how do you want to show up to the people in your life? And then also, what specifically would I like to learn during my life? Spiritually, physically, financially, technically, intellectually, about relationships, about communication, like whatever it is, write down all of the things that you wish to obtain as knowledge in your life. And then this part is always hard for me to do for some reason, but how much money will it take to be able to live the life of my dreams? Maybe you have a house, maybe you have a condo, maybe you have one car, two cars, maybe you travel all the time, or maybe you give to charity. Like whatever that dream life looks like, try to put together a rough calculation of what it would cost and how much money you would need to be able to live that dream life. So that's your primary aim. Then he dives into your strategic objective, which to me, when I first read it, I thought, okay, business plan, mission, vision, like that's what automatically came up. And yes, it can include all of those things, but those are not the only things that your strategic objective is about. Because once you have an idea of what you want your life to look like, you're going to start to notice that it's not just all about like things you have or the things you do. It's really about who you want to be and the things that are the most important to you. Yes, I might write down in my perfect day that I want to have 3 hours in the morning to read and I want to go to Pilates every day. But if you dig deeper and really examine what those things really mean, being able to read 3 hours in the morning could mean that I enjoy a slow life. It could mean that I value intellectuality. It could mean that I value downtime and freedom. So really try to like go deep with these journaling prompts and with these questions and get to the root of really who you are as a person and what matters to you. Your strategic objective really will be this clear statement that will tell you exactly how your business will help you accomplish your primary aim, how it will help you accomplish all of your personal goals and ambitions. So yes, it is your business's vision statement and mission statement, but more than that, it is a product of your life plan. Again, your business is meant to serve your life and not the other way around. So some things to consider when you're constructing your strategic objective are things like money. So how big will your company be when it's finally done? That really depends on how big your vision is. He writes in the book that any standards are better than no standards. And I completely agree. Like just set a number for now and we can workshop that as we go, as we figure out more details about our life plan, but you want to at least have an idea. And really, don't be afraid to dream big. Like reach for the moon, and even if you don't get there, you'll land among the stars. I've always loved that quote. I know it's cheesy. Don't come at me, but it's true. Like dream big. This is your time to think about all of the biggest things that you want to achieve. Also think about what will really serve your primary aim when it comes to like the financials and the structure of your business. Your strategic objective should also consider whether this business is an opportunity worth pursuing. That's really going to help you narrow down your business idea and whether or not this business can actually help you achieve your primary aim. So, an opportunity worth pursuing is a business that can meet the financial standards that it takes to accomplish your primary aim. You should also think about whether your business alleviates a frustration experienced by a big enough group of people that'll make it worth your time. And then lastly, you can also evaluate whether it's a business opportunity that's worth pursuing by identifying your customers' perceived needs and your ability to serve and to satisfy those needs. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is to pick your fighter. This was another part of the book that when I read, it instantly clicked in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, why have I never thought about it like this? So we all already know that small business owners and entrepreneurs typically will have to wear multiple hats because when you're first starting out, you're really doing everything on your own. You are the accountant, you're the bookkeeper, you're the person creating the products, you're the person marketing the products. You do everything. But the question I want to ask you is, are we really wearing the right hats? So in the book, Gerber talks about the 3 roles that are totally, completely necessary and that are essential to running a successful small business. And the 3 roles are the technician, the entrepreneur, and the manager. The technician is really the one that we are probably the most familiar with. It's the doer, it's the executor. I want to say that the majority of people who start a business because they think that they have something to offer. If you're a designer, you are offering your designs. If you make stickers and art, then you're the artist. You're the person producing the commodity that is being sold. The doer really lives in the present. He is about hard work. He thinks that the harder I work, the more successful my business will be. Then we have the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is the dreamer, the goal setter, the ambitious one. Entrepreneurs live in the future. They're always thinking ahead. They're always thinking about the next great big idea that will help their business grow. They are just thinking more. How can I dream bigger, ideate faster so that I can grow this business? Each role does have their downfalls as well. Like the technician is too hyper-focused on just doing the work. The entrepreneur is dreaming so big and so fast that they are just wreaking havoc around them. That's where the manager comes in. The manager lives in the past. The manager is the one that likes order and organization and consistency. Without the manager, the business would be essentially a mess. They're pragmatic, they want predictability, they are the planners. So the entrepreneur creates, the manager organizes, and then the technician executes. The majority of entrepreneurs and small businesses get stuck in the technician stage. They think to themselves that as long as I produce more, produce quicker, and just keep doing the work, that's going to lead to the success of my business. The math checks out, right? The harder you work, the more successful you will be. But Gerber points out that this is actually far from the truth, because if you only play the role of a technician and not the entrepreneur, who's going to dream up your next big idea? Who's going to be focused on the growth of your business? If you only have the entrepreneur and the technician, who's going to keep your business in order? Who's going to actually create the strategies and the structure it takes for your business to be successful? You really need to play all 3 of those roles in order to be able to create a business that is not only producing, but is organized and is actually geared for growth. So how I've been personally trying to implement these roles into like my day-to-day work schedule is first by writing down more journaling prompts, but writing down like what those roles really mean to you. So what are the things that you do as an entrepreneur in your business? What are the things that you do as a manager in your business, as a technician in your business? For me, for example, as an entrepreneur, it's for ideating new content strategies, the pillars, making sure that I'm staying on top of trends and understanding the markets, making sure that I am, just making sure that I am like looking for the next step and trying to evaluate what that is. It's dreaming, it's being ambitious. Manager me is the person who loves Notion. And we all already know that I am obsessed with Notion, but the manager lives in Notion for me, at least. She is constantly going through her Kanban boards, making sure things are done, making sure that the system is working properly, making sure that things are running smoothly. That's manager me. The technician in me is the one who is spending day in, day out filming, editing, writing, doing all the things that actually produces the final product that I'm trying to produce. So once you've kind of mapped out what each role looks like for you and your business specifically, then start to schedule time in your week for you to step into each of those roles. So I now schedule time in my calendar for entrepreneurship time, aka where I just plan for my business. I schedule in manager time where I schedule in time to literally go through my systems, make sure that everything has been done properly, make sure that I'm checking in with my partnerships, with my other business relationships, going through Notion, schedule that time in. And then, of course, I'll schedule in filming time, editing time, the doing of my business, the technician's work. And my best tip for this really is to batch the work and make sure that you are avoiding context switching as much as possible. So, context switching refers to your brain having to rapidly shift focus from one task to another. Each switch forces your brain to reorient itself to make sure it's ready to tackle that next task. And that ends up leading to a lot of wasted mental energy and time in your day. It can also lead to a lot of mental fatigue when you're constantly context switching. Your brain can't keep up. It's just going to get tired way quicker throughout your day. So now, instead of planning for myself to fulfill all three of those roles all in one day, I try to structure my schedule so that today it's mostly a planning day, it's mostly a managerial day. And then another day could be mostly a entrepreneurship day. And then of course, I'll have my doing days, my technician days as well. And then within those roles, I also like to break up the tasks. So I'll have a day for filming, a day for writing, a day for editing. And I just try to make sure that I am avoiding context switching as best as possible. Tip number 3, or strategy number 3, is to hire ordinary people. Now, that may sound really, really backwards. And honestly, I kind of was confused at first when I read this. But the quote that he has in the book, which did really resonate, was great businesses are not built by extraordinary people, but by ordinary people doing extraordinary things. We all think that what we need for our businesses is to hire highly skilled people with very strong visions and opinions because those are the people that are going to help us grow. And yes, those people can be really helpful, but I think it does depend on the size of your business as well. When I worked in corporate, those were the people that we were looking for. We were looking for people who were already very highly skilled, who have this strong drive, who have strong opinions, and who can bring in a fresh opinion and perspective. But the difference between an established corporate enterprise and a small business is that that enterprise already has such a strong culture, mission, and vision that it knows that once they hire that highly skilled person, they will then just instill those beliefs into that person and make them a part of their culture. So many companies do this. We know Apple has a specific culture. We know Microsoft has a specific culture. When you apply for a job, you are essentially applying to be a part of that system and that culture. You have to make yourself fit in to their mold. But when you're just a small business, it can sometimes be detrimental to hire someone who is already all of those things because it's going to be harder for you to align them with your specific vision. And at this point, we're really just trying to get our business to align with our own vision. So how are we supposed to do that and also get somebody who is super skilled, super ambitious, has their own specific vision they're trying to achieve to align with yours? What you need at this point really are dedicated people, not necessarily highly skilled people, because you're actually going to be building the system in which anyone can operate at a high skill level when they're helping you with your business. You need people who believe your mission and vision and who are willing to roll up their sleeves to help you achieve it. So how we're going to figure out what roles we need to hire for and what systems we need in place is by creating an org chart. An organizational chart or an org chart is really a chart that shows all of the different roles and positions at your company and the hierarchy of those roles. It's going to show how those positions relate to each other. It's going to show the chain of command. It's even going to show different divisions and departments of the business that your business might need. Creating an org chart really brings clarity and shows you what are the different functions that your business needs to succeed. And when you're doing this exercise, I want you to think of your business as a mature business. We're not creating an org chart for what your business is right now, because if we do that, it's just going to say me, I do everything. The point of this exercise is to build out your org chart for what your business is going to look like when it's complete, when it's at that point where it's already helping you achieve all of your wildest dreams. So if you've never seen an org chart or built one before, some roles that you could look at are president and COO, which is accountable for the overall achievement of your strategic objective, and it reports to your shareholders or your investors. There can be your vice president of marketing, which essentially is the role that is going to be helping you find new customers and finding new ways to provide those customers with the best experiences and the best products. There is the vice president of operations, which is the person that's going to keep your customers happy by delivering what marketing has promised them. There is the vice president of finance, who is accountable for supporting both the marketing team and the ops team in the fulfillment of their accountabilities by achieving the company's profitability goals. There can be a sales manager, an advertising and research manager. There can be a production manager, a service manager, a facilities manager. There can be an accounts receivable manager and an accounts payable manager. If you don't know all the terms for the roles that exist within a company, just give it a quick Google. To make this easy for yourself, start by listing out all the things that you already do within your business, and then figure out what roles usually do those tasks when it comes to a large corporate enterprise. So your org chart should look like your president at the top, and then underneath you have all of the vice presidents of each department, and then under that it's the managers that serve those vice presidents, and then the individual contributors that serve those managers that fall within those teams. So once you have your org chart laid out and you have all the roles prepared, then you want to write out your position contracts. Your position contracts will essentially say what are the roles and responsibilities of each of these specific positions. So it should be a summary of the results that need to be achieved by each of these positions, the work that they're accountable for, a list of standards that they're going to be evaluated on, and then lastly, include a line for a signature. Now, this is kind of the fun part, and it is a little bit silly as well, but on your org chart, underneath each position, have a space where you can fill in a name for somebody who's going to fulfill those roles. And since you are just doing this on your own right now, put your name underneath every single one of those roles, and then sign every single position contract that you have, because you want to make a commitment. You want to be accountable for all the things that need to happen for your business to grow. So sign those contracts and make that commitment to yourself, to your business, that you're going to fulfill each position to the best of your ability so that you can create a successful business. The next step kind of takes me to the next tip as well, which is systems over people. So you now have your org chart, you have your position contracts. It's time to create the systems in which each of those positions will require to do their work to the best of their abilities. Again, start with what you already do. That is the easiest place to start. So under each role, write down all of the things that you currently do that fulfills that role. And then start building out these systems as you work. So when you are going through your day-to-day and fulfilling each of these roles, what are the steps that you take? What are the structures that you already have in place that help you do your job more easily? So for finances, I have an accounting software that I use that actually automatically categorizes categorizes all of my transactions once they've been pulled in from my bank account. So my job is to review those transactions, make sure that they're categorized correctly so that I can download my income statement. The point of building out the system is so that when you actually start to hire, you can replace those roles with a system for that person to work on. Your goal really is to replace yourself with the system. So if right now you are doing all these jobs, what are those jobs? What is the system that will make that position the most effective and efficient? And then once you're ready to hire, bring in somebody who is willing to learn and have you teach them exactly how that one specific system works so that they know exactly what they need to do the best in that role. It's kind of like a fun game. You want to slowly move up your org chart so that in the end, you are only acting as, let's say, like the president or the shareholders. So you want to start out at the bottom, hire people for video editing, hire people for accounting and bookkeeping, and get them to use the systems that you have built for your business. Then you'll be left with managerial roles, vice president roles, and president roles. So maybe next, once your business grows further, you hire for the managerial roles. So all you're left with is the vice president roles and the president role, so on and so forth. You want to slowly work your way up the org chart so that sooner or later, you now have a business filled with people who are using the systems that you have created, that you know work and that help your business run. And you are the person just managing all of this. You're the one managing the systems so that your staff can work within the systems. That's why it's so important to define the purpose of your business and then live and breathe the systems within it. Because if you don't do it, why would someone else do it? If you can't prove to yourself that this will work, why would anyone else look at it and be like, yeah, I'm willing to do that because I know it's going to work? They can't trust you. So you need to make sure that your systems are on lock, that they are ready to go, and that you have tested them and that they will do exactly what you need them to do so that when you bring someone onto the team, they'll look at it and be like, wow, great system. I know exactly how it works. I know exactly what I need to do. Let's get going. This kind of falls back into this quote that I've shared a couple of times in previous episodes that my friend Terry had told me about, which is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And it applies because really you want to think of this as like, if you have sloppy work, it could mean that you have a sloppy mind. If you have a messy workplace, it could mean that you have a messy mind. There's also a quote in the book that really stood out, which said that the most menial work can be a piece of art when it's done by an artist. So make sure that when you're crafting these systems and you're building out these roles and you're figuring out the responsibilities and the tasks that fit into these systems and roles, that you are looking at it as like the best version of you. Like, this is the ideal scenario, and we're going to live that. We're going to live it in every single role, even though I'm the one that's doing all of the roles right now. And we're going to show up as the employee of the month. We're going to show up as the employee that we wish we had. That is what's going to help you build the strong, locked-in systems that you need and hire the amazing, ordinary people that are going to do extraordinary things for your business so that you can have a successful business. Okay, finally, we've moved on to the customers. So the fifth strategy is to think about your customer's unconscious mind. So let's think about a hotel, for example. Gerber talks about this in the book as well. So imagine you're going to like the best hotel in the world, a 5-star hotel. What is your experience like when you walk into that hotel? Well, it's going to be beautiful. People are going to be warm and friendly. The temperature is going to be perfect for the season that it is. You're going to walk up to the reception desk and they're going to be super attentive, super friendly, and just the perfect person that could be standing behind that desk. They're going to evaluate your needs. They're going to make sure you're checked in promptly. They're going to make sure everything is ready for you. But above and beyond that, they're going to do these little things that are tapping into your unconscious mind. They're going to ask you super casually, oh, what's your favorite like newspaper that you love reading, by the way? Oh yeah, I love that as well. Do you have any magazines that you love? Oh, side note, do you like your bedroom warm or cool when you're sleeping? They're going to take down all of these details in such a way that you're not going to think twice about them. But then as you spend your days in this hotel, you're going to start noticing that you're being so well taken care of. Your morning paper is at your door along with your coffee done the exact way that you want it to be done. You're going to come back after a long day and the room temperature is set perfectly at what you prefer it to when you sleep. You have also gotten turn down service. You have the iPad next to you with Netflix because you mentioned that you like Netflix shows, and all of the magazines that you currently read are on that iPad as well. You're going to wake up the next morning and you're going to get a call and you're going to wonder, how did they know that this is when I would wake up? And you'll pick up the phone and they'll be like, hey, I just want to let you know that we've made you a breakfast reservation at our hotel restaurant who is serving brunch foods right now because you mentioned how much you love poached eggs and eggs bennies. And so if you would like to, the reservation is under your name. You just have to go down and sit down. All of these little details that make your experience at the hotel perfect is what's going to really leave that lasting impression on you. But notice how they're not really tackling things that may necessarily be within your conscious mind. Like, how many times have you walked into your bedroom and thought, perfect, the bedroom is at 20 degrees? You probably don't think about these things. It's something that you just naturally feel. And so the hotel will try to imitate and create these experiences that tap into those unconscious things that you realize that you need and love, and they're going to give it to you. And that's how a business taps into a customer's unconscious mind to fulfill their perceived needs. Your unconscious mind is the one that takes in everything, all six senses. There's six senses, right? It takes in the smells of a business. It takes in the warmth or coolness of a business. It takes in the color of the shirts, of the uniform, of the wallpaper, of the flooring, the kindness of the people that work there. It takes in everything from the overall experience, and it does it without you even having to think about it. When you walk into a retail store, when you walk into a little boutique or a hotel, don't you just automatically sometimes get that feeling like, oh wow, this is really nice? But never do we really try to examine exactly what is nice about it. Is it the comforting colors of the walls? Is it the scent that's wafting through the air? Like, what is it that makes this feel so right? Those are the things that Gerber prompts you to think about when you're building your business. To understand your customer to the point where you can understand their perceived needs and what their unconscious mind wants, you first have to understand who they are, their demographic. So who are they? What do they do? How much money do they make? What brands do they like? What do they enjoy to do in their free time? Map all of this out. Like, honestly, write it down in a notebook and just try to build out what that customer looks like. If you already have a business, look at those customers, ask them, get feedback, have conversations with them, literally email them and be like, hey, by the way, what's your favorite color? What brands do you love? Your goal here is to understand everything you can about them. Because by understanding who your customer is, aka their demographic, that's how you're going to understand why they buy, aka their psychographic. So I know I throw around the term perceived need, but what really is a perceived need? A perceived need is what your customers think that they may need or want that can differ from what they actually functionally need or want. So an example could be, you may functionally need a car or want a car because it'll take you from destination A to destination B, from home to work. But what you may think you need or want is a luxury car. Maybe it's a Mercedes, maybe it's a BMW, maybe it's a Lexus. The reason you want to be able to understand their psychographic, why they buy, as well as their perceived need is because if your customer doesn't perceive that he needs or wants something, then he doesn't, even if he really does. I think another perfect application for this was when I was working in fintech and we sold account accounting software. So here's the thing with accounting software. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, so we can't really use those factors to sell it. Accounting software, specifically for our target audience, which was small businesses, also is something that a lot of small businesses don't realize that they need yet. They don't have that perceived need. Because when you're starting out as a small business, you may not necessarily think to yourself, like, yeah, I need accounting software, or I need to do bookkeeping or accounting. You may not even be at that point in your business where you are filing your first tax return yet. And so, in order for us to be able to sell and market our product, we had to identify like the frustrations and the problems that that small business might be facing steps before they even needed their first accounting software. So we would market to customers who are having issues like understanding how their business is doing, how their cash flow is doing. We would use marketing language like understand how your business is doing, or see how much you made this month, or organize your client list, because those are all functions of the accounting software, but we're really driving deep and digging to the problems that each of those functions and features can solve. Because again, our customer doesn't yet have that perceived need that they need accounting software. So we need to create that need. Sometimes it's about instilling fear or going into their deeper emotions. Like, you don't want to have your taxes audited, then use an accounting software, get organized. But in order for us to be able to do that, we had to first understand, like, okay, who is the small business owner that we're trying to achieve? At what stage of running their business are they at? How much do they make? How much time do they have? What do they enjoy doing? What media do they consume? By answering all of those questions, then we were able to figure out, okay, this is where they at, aka this is how we're going to be able to talk to them in a way that they understand. So if you don't have a business yet and you don't have any customers yet, try to think about this as building like your dream customer. Build that demographic of your dream customer and fill out all the details of who they may be. If you do have customers already, start with those customers and get to know them, because starting with the customers that you do have is going to be a hell of a lot less expensive than starting with the customers you don't. We're finally at the last strategy, which is strategy 6, and that strategy is to play the bigger game. As I mentioned earlier, don't be afraid to dream big. The typical growth path of a business is infancy, adolescence, and then maturity. Infancy being when you're just working alone, you've just started, you don't have any staff yet, and you're doing everything on your own. Adolescence being where you maybe have hired 1 or 2 staff and your business is growing a little bit. But the problem with this typical path, and the problem that a lot of small businesses face, which is addressed in this book, is that when we go from infancy to adolescence and don't like properly build out the foundation and the organization and the systems we need, we'll hire a couple of people and then things will go well for a while, the business will be growing, and then suddenly you'll lose control. You'll outgrow your current system and the way that you work, and you won't be able to keep up. Then you're stuck at a place where you feel like, okay, I'm not in control of my people. I'm not in control of the quality of the production. Like, you're going to feel like a mess. And oftentimes, businesses that are in that adolescent stage will then go back to infancy. They're like, nope, I can't do it. This is too much. I need to restart. The reason that people will go back to infancy is because infancy feels the most comfortable, because you are in control of everything. You do everything on your own. You do every role on your own. But when you're doing every role on your own, you can control exactly how it's done and the results that will come out of that. But there's no way that you can do all of those roles on your own forever and expect your business to grow to the point that you want it to. Gerber argues in the book that this typical path of infancy to adolescence to maturity isn't the only path. You can start at maturity. So the difference between a mature business and an infant business is a mature business understands how they got to where they are today and how they can continue to grow through systems, through structure, through organization. A mature business is not the inevitable result of the other 2 phases. He actually prompts you to start at the mature stage. And what that really means is to start with your org chart. Start with your primary aim, your strategic objective. Look at your business from the very start as if it's your dream business, as if it's the business that's already built and done. That's why you're creating this massive org chart and filling your names in it and signing the position contracts and building out the systems that each role needs to succeed, because that is what's going to make a mature business. So when you think of your business from that standpoint from the very beginning, it's going to ensure that you're setting yourself up to not outgrow yourself and to not get to a point where you're overwhelmed and you have no idea what the next step is. And that's really what it means to play the bigger game. Start with maturity in mind. Think about what your company would be like when it is done, when it is successful, and helping you reach all of your life goals, and then play those roles. Act it, live it, continue to refine it and grow it from the very beginning. I honestly cannot say enough good things about this book. I really had tried to distill all of the key lessons, insights, and actionable takeaways into these 6 strategies so that you can get the bulk of what's important from just this episode. But if you do want to dive a little bit deeper into any of these topics, I would highly recommend picking up this book and checking it out. I'll have it linked in the show notes below. I think that's the biggest feeling that I got from this book after finishing it was just inspiration and motivation to just keep going and to build out that plan. And that's why I'm so glad that I read it. I really hope that these tips and quotes have resonated with you as well, and that they have reached you at a point where you feel like you need that extra push and motivation to start creating the systems that are going to help you succeed. If you got to this point in the podcast, thank you, Feel Good fam. We're back here at the end. I'm so thankful for you. This week, if you reach the end of the podcast, let's comment the book emoji, any book emoji, so that I know that you're a real one and that you stuck with me all the way to the end. I am debating whether I should make this a series on the podcast where I talk about business books, productivity books, or growth books that I read and try to teach you all of the key insights, summarize it and teach you all of the key insights of the things that I learned from it. I used to do this on my YouTube channel, which I might still. I'm thinking about it, but let me know if this is something that you would be interested in for me to turn into a series. Seriously, comment or email me at hello@coffeeswithangel.com and tell me. And if you do think it's a good idea, I would love to hear what book you maybe have been wanting to read or are curious about that you would want to learn from that I can feature in the next one of this series. What should I call it? Oh my gosh, that is always a fun part as well when it comes to series on YouTube or on podcasts. I'm thinking something like book notes, or is that too boring? I don't know. Let's workshop that together. To say that I've been feeling inspired and motivated to work on this podcast is an understatement. I have been just locked in, and I'm so excited to continue to share with you some of the topics that I have planned, which I think will be really helpful for both your career and your personal life. So stick around, and yeah, that's all I got for you for this episode. I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world. I love you, Feel Good fam, and I will catch you in the next episode. Kisses. Bye.